We enjoyed our time at El Questro, but the time had come to move on. Next stop, Bungle Bungles. This is the turn-off to our campsite at the Bungle Bungles. We found out later that it was only a half kilometre down the road to a really good free stay. The campsites that we stayed at only had bore water that was really undrinkable, and the electricity was barely enough to charge your fridge, let alone anything else. There are campsites available in at the National Park, but over 50 kilometres of very bumpy road you wouldn't get a caravan into them. The next day we travelled that 50 kilometres to the Piccaninny car park. We then walked to the Piccaninny Creek lookout and then off to Cathedral Gorge. These hills are fascinating. They're made of red bands of iron oxide and black bands of cyanobacteria. This is a creek bed. The creek only runs annually when the heavy rains come. This is a termite mound perched right at the top of one of the hills. Seems like a strange place to me. At Piccaninny Creek Lookout, you get an elevated view of the surrounding hills. We head up the trail towards Cathedral Gorge. Water erosion has provided us with some fascinating scenery in this section of the trail. We reached Cathedral Gorge. What a beautiful spot. And it offers a great respite from the heat on the trail. We met a German tourist in the gorge. He was out here on holiday. He said he'd been coming here for the past 20 years. He'd brought his daughter this trip. He said we're ever so lucky to have such wide open, beautiful spaces. Boy, do I believe him. Now, I'm not sure what this is, but it looks like once in its life it was sloppy concrete, and somehow it's ended halfway up a cliff. We now take a trip up to the other end of the Bungle Bungles and have a look at Echidna Chasm. It took me a little while to realise, but this entire mountain range is made of nothing but little round boulders and some big round boulders, all glued together. Sandstone. Trillions and trillions of tiny round boulders that have been rolling around on the ocean shore or riverbed. It's absolutely mind-boggling how many round rocks make up this entire range. Just take notice of the walls for the next 4 or 5 minutes. They're all round boulders glued together. Unbelievable. We were told if you get here at the right time of the day when the sun is straight overhead, you can get some great pictures. There must be some fantastic shots available. We weren't there at the right time and we got some great stuff. The chasm starts to narrow down. Wouldn't be too good if you're claustrophobic. About halfway along, the chasm opens out into a large open area with open sky. We continue further along the track. I'm not sure what would happen if we met somebody coming the other way. Interesting. We reach the stairs that lead up into the last part of the chasm. That boulder jammed in the chasm over our heads doesn't look like it's hanging on by much. We reached the end of the track. Sadly, because of its seclusion, everyone seems to use it as a latrine. It smells quite bad. So we don't waste a lot of time here. We turn around and head back. So we say farewell to the Bungle Bungles. Beautiful place, well worth the trouble to get here. And we head off back to camp and prepare to move out the next day. Our friends call us and tell us that they've caught up. They're staying at a free stay, half a kilometre down the road from where we are. What a beautiful spot. We should have stayed here for free. So we decide to do just that. Our friends have to move on, so we stay on for a couple of days. Just enjoy and relax. After a bit of R&R, we hit the road again. We catch up with our friends again at Merry Pools, another beautiful free stay. Well worth staying a couple of days. Back on the road again, heading to Derby. We stop for a look at the famous, or infamous, prison boab tree outside of Derby. I guess times were harder back then, but after reading what happened here, it seems very brutal what actually happened to the Aboriginals. The number of Aboriginals that were jammed into that tree on hot days to stay there for however long seems quite inhumane. After setting up camp in Derby, we went out and had a bit of a look around and very quickly learnt that on the large jetty there was a lot of crabs being caught, so we decided that was an activity for us to get involved with. The tidal run here was very fast. It had 7-metre tides, so to keep our crab pots in the one spot we used rocks to hold them on the bottom. It worked. We caught some crabs. And we all enjoyed quite a few feeds of crab. Yummo! Sharon and I booked a trip out to see the horizontal falls. As it was only a couple of $100 more to stay overnight, we started to go that way. What an adventure. I'm not real keen on flying, so the smaller the plane, the greater the fear, so let's see how we go. Yeah, just kidding. It was a great flight. Beautiful scenery. Our first sighting of the horizontal falls, those little gaps between the mountains. With 7-metre tides, the water rushes through those little gaps, creating like a horizontal waterfall, hence the name, Horizontal Falls. This is truly a breathtakingly beautiful part of the world. We landed our accommodation for the night. We take our luggage off the plane and check into our room. We go and have a quick look around the accommodation area that we'll be staying for the next day or two. They have an area that is open to the sea, bordered by pontoons. This is the area that the sharks come up to for a feed. These are wild animals, not contained in any way. They come and go as they please, but they seem to know when it's feed time. This accommodation platform is not here all year round, it's seasonal, it's only here for 6 months of the year, and the sharks are not fed all year round. But we're told that every year when they bring the accommodation platform into place and anchor it, the sharks are there at the same time, every afternoon, just like the platform was never taken away. The guy feeding the sharks has only been doing the job for about 3 or 4 weeks. The previous feeder, who is now in hospital, got too friendly with the sharks and lost 2 fingers. Okay, time for some fun. We all climb aboard the powerboat and go for a ride through the horizontal falls. The boat we're on has 3 300 horsepower Yamahas. That'll get us there in a hurry. Unfortunately, the cycle of the tide is not working in our favour at the time that we picked to go on this trip. The tides are not falling to their extreme levels at this particular time, but still, it's a lot of fun just the same. To slow the adrenaline down a bit, they took us on a scenic cruise. They took us up the local creek where they were catching the fresh barramundi we were dining on. What a beautiful area. They say the rocks around here are 400 million years old. And some of them had quite tumultuous time by the look of that. We were up bright and early the next morning before the sun got up to go on an early morning helicopter sunrise flight. Did somebody forget to bring the doors for the helicopter? And then sadly, all too soon, we were back on the plane heading home, back to Derby. But one last look at the beautiful scenery on the way. What a great trip. We flew over a fish farm on the way back. I believe they're farming barramundi. the muddy waters of Derby come into sight. Because of the extreme tidal flow, it's constantly muddy. And so ends this leg of our great adventure. With the horizontal falls completed, that's just one more thing to tick off our bucket list.